Okay, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodesh, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Today, I have this article on the Daily Beast, right, titled "Trump Launches Unhinged Attack on Close Allies." Basically further feeding into the distancing of America as a country away from all the other ones, even its allies. It reads, fresh from launching a war in Iran, President Donald Trump blasted close U.S. European allies on Tuesday in a rant from inside the Oval Office. Now, we know that according to biblical prophecy, as we're going to grab, America's allies turning on America and also helping destroy America is prophesied. That's prophesied to bring an end to America, which will ultimately bring an end to this current age of, heathen rulership, the current age of Esau Edom's rulership. And knowing that, all this tells us is that the MOTB really is, is behind the corner. Because that end cannot come until that MOTB, the mark of the beast, the RFID microchip, is made mandatory. Until those who refuse to take it are ostracized, from society, won't be able to partake in society. That has to come before this end. But we see that the way things are going, things can easily escalate towards that devastating end. So that just lets us know that MOTB, is right around the corner. But continuing, fresh from launching a war in Iran, President Donald Trump blasted close U.S. European allies on Tuesday in a rant from inside the Oval Office. Trump, 79, was sitting down with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and other senior officials when he took questions from the media. The president had just been asked about NATO allies, right? And with NATO, we know is what? The beast. America being the great whore that sitteth upon the beast, right? The president had just been asked about NATO allies when he went on a tirade against Spain and the United Kingdom. Despite the UK now allowing the US to use its bases to launch strikes against Iran after an initial delay. Again, both Spain and the UK being a part of NATO, I believe, or being America's allies. Now, Spain actually said that we can't use their bases, and that's all right. We don't, Trump said before mumbling incoherently at the end. We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it, right? And this is the attitude, the pride that America comes with as a whole. It's represented in their president, represented in this pride that Trump is exuding pretty much represents the pride of Esau as a whole in America, right? And the other nations, right? Even the other Edomites are tied to that shit. This goes along with how scriptures refer to them as what? The hammer of the earth, right? We can grab that. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it, but we don't have to, Trump declared, but they were unfriendly, right? So Trump saying if we want to, bro, we could just go forcefully go in and use that shit. And ain't nobody gonna tell us what we can and can't do. We're the ones in power, right? Let's get the book of Jeremiah, I believe it's chapter 50. Actually, we can just do this. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 23. And it reads, verse 22, a sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. What is that sound of battle? Ultimately being World War III, which is going to bring upon that great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? Right? How is Babylon, being a spiritual code word for America, become a desolation among the nations? Right? So the hammer of the whole earth. Let's look into this word hammer. Because this place that's thought to be so untouchable, thought to be so powerful. The Lord finna bring this shit down, man. Patayash, forge, hammer, intensively, from an unused root meaning to pound, a hammer. Okay, let's do this instead. What does it mean to refer to someone as or something as a hammer? The AI overview reads: to refer to someone or something as a hammer generally implies force, persistence, or lack of subtlety. Depending on the context, it can serve as a compliment regarding strength and effectiveness, or an insult regarding insensitivity and narrow-mindedness. And that's exactly, what it is dealing with America. Strength and effectiveness. Calling a person a hammer can be a compliment, suggesting they are strong, determined, and highly capable of getting things done, in which America can do that, but the way that they go about it is more of a forceful, bully type of way, not a way that's praised or liked, which is why her allies are fed up, man. Forceful or insensitive. Negatively, it may imply a person is overly forceful. That's exactly what America is, man. Trump just basically, as we just read here, we could use their base. How you going to tell someone that you can use their stuff? You see how that sounds? We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. That's if that ain't force, I don't know what is. Oh. It may imply a person is overly forceful, aggressive, or lacks the nuance required for a given situation, man. So America is this hammer of the whole earth. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it, but we don't have to, Trump declared, but they were unfriendly. Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, the president added, but they don't have great leadership. He said that he has told Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to cut off all trade with Spain, and that the U.S. doesn't want to have anything to do with the country, Slovakia, after it has not agreed to contribute 5% GDP to NATO. Right? So this is just more and more, fuel adding on to the fire, more division. The president was about to let another reporter ask a question, but then he brought up the UK himself to criticize British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with, Trump said. The president has been upset with the British government for its deal to hand over sovereignty of the Chagos Islands, located in the Indian Ocean, to Mauritius, and was angry that the UK did not initially allow the US to use the Diego Garcia Air Base to launch its Iran strikes. Right? So even the UK was hesitant, man. And that in itself, shows you how the Lord is dealing. It's not just yet that America's allies are going to break away from America. The UK was hesitant, but in the end, they still allowed the US to basically do their thing. It's like a omen, so to speak. Soon or later, there isn't going to be no, or we say no, and then we go in and let you, no. Right? Sooner or later, they are just going to completely be done with America, man. At first, Starmer denied the U.S. use of any UK bases for the attack amid concerns over the legality of the strikes. but he indicated late Sunday that the UK position had changed as Iran launched its retaliatory strikes, including one that struck the UK base in Cyprus. By the way, I'm not happy with the UK either, Trump cut off a reporter mid-question during his appearance on Tuesday to keep going after U.S. allies. So again, it shows you how the Lord is dealing, man, because, while reading off of this, it seems like the UK only then allowed the U.S. to do their thing because one of their bases got hit by Iran. But that's all through the will of the Lord, because like I said, it's not just yet that these allies are supposed to pull away from America, So the UK was like, nah. The Lord say, no. Y'all are going to allow them. How about let me make Iran hit one of y'all bases? Now I bet y'all allow them, right? And it goes to show you the master, manipulation of the Lord. By the way, I'm not happy with the UK either. Trump cut off a reporter mid-question during his appearance on Tuesday to keep going after U.S. allies, right? To keep going after U.S. allies. The island that you read about, the lease, okay, for whatever reason, he made a lease of the island. Somebody came and took it away from him, and it's taken 3-4 days for us to work out where we can land there, Trump rambled. It would have been much more convenient standing there as opposed to flying many extra hours, so we're very surprised. Okay, that seems to be the end of it, but yeah, man, this is just more and more division amongst America and those who are supposedly allied with it. Now let's get the book of Matthew chapter 12 verse 25, and it reads, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Right? And as we see, ultimately Esau, right, the power structure of Esau, the beast, the America, NATO, the EU, there is division, and as we just read, division within, basically a collective, right, ultimately brings the downfall of that collective, and which goes to show you how their destruction is soon, man. It's the book of Matthew chapter 10 verse 35 or 19. It's the book of Matthew chapter 10 verse 34. Again, this is Yahushua speaking. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword, right? Which is evident through what? All this war, all this violence, right? Not only on a global, geopolitical front, but even within America itself. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's foes shall be they of his own household. Now, this is speaking about basically literally, right, how the Lord is going to bring division amongst families, but division is also going to be among all fronts. And the Esau's power structure, right, NATO, the EU, and America, America and its allies, that can be likened unto what? A household, and it reads, a man's foes shall be they of his own household. America's allies are going to soon turn into her foes, man, and aid in her her destruction. Let's look into this word foes. In the Greek, it reads ekthros.
Strong's G 2190. Echthros.
Okay. From a primary echtho, to hate, hateful, passively odious, or actively hostile. Hated, odious, hateful, hostile, hating, and opposing another. use of men as an enmity with the Most High by their sin, oppose the Most High in the mind. A man that is hostile is certain enemy. The hostile one, the devil, who is the most bitter enemy of the divine government. Yeah. So yeah, man, opposing another. Soon, the people on the same team will be on opposite teams, and that's the division that causes the house to no longer stand, because then Satan is divided against Satan, man, which is going to bring the fall. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 16. And it reads, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore." In which these 10 horns basically go into the EU today, or really, America's allies, right? And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, being NATO, these shall hate the whore, being America, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And what this is going into is in the end, of World War III, where when these nations, when things turn nuclear, the nukes get launched, and America's allies are also going to launch missiles over here at America, because that's the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai. That's why the Lord is bringing this division between America and those who are supposedly, in agreement with her. Now it says, "In the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore." And what this is basically going into is that, that Edomite power structure, the beast, the dragon, Rome in the rebirth, which is America and its allies, right? We jump up here to the 3rd verse. It reads, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast." That woman, that great whore, being America, sit upon a scarlet colored beast. And scarlet is basically what? Red, a red colored beast, which is also synonymous with Revelation, the 12th chapter, the 3rd verse. I believe it reads a red dragon, right? It's speaking about the same thing, that Edomite power structure, that beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now these 7 heads go back to the 7 kingdoms, basically, of Esau. You had the Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the French, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and Great Britain, right? And 10 horns, which, as I said, ultimately make up the EU today. But before, you had something known as the EEC, right? In which the founding nations, I believe, see if I can remember them. You had the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Ireland, Greece, England, France, West Germany, Denmark. Did I say Belgium? Belgium. And England, Greece, Ireland, West Germany, Netherlands, Denmark, Luxembourg, Belgium, France. I'm missing one. Either way, right, they later became known, or developed or evolved into the EU today, right? But all of that as a collective are ultimately going to turn on America and also launch missiles to destroy America, right? Let's go back to the book of Jeremiah chapter 50, because this is all the will of the Lord, and it's all, been prophesied. Jeremiah chapter 50, we can start here at verse 9, and it reads, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, against America, an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows, the missiles, shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied. all that spoil her shall be satisfied, in which a part of that all are her own allies as well, saith the Lord Yahweh. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoice, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls, your mother shall be sore confounded, she that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert, right? In which your mother shall be sore confounded, she that bare you shall be ashamed. Is going into what? You know, America was basically a spawn of who? Great Britain. You know, it speaks about that also in Revelation 17, I believe it's the 8th verse, right? This is Revelation chapter 17 verse 8. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. Perdition, going into destruction. And this beast is speaking about the eighth head, right? Being America. And they shall dwell on the earth, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of the life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, right? How is it that this beast was? Because it was a part of those 7 heads, being basically a part of Great Britain, and is not, because at the time it wasn't there as America yet, and yet is, because then again it was still there, right? Just not as America just yet, because it wasn't time. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Again, the Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the French, the Germania Major, Germania Minor, and Great Britain, on which the woman sitteth, America. Because really, what this beast is the 4th beast spoken of by Daniel, which was the Roman Empire, but in its rebirth, you know, it basically came back alive as America and its allies. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is. The 5 that fell, you had the Greeks, the Spanish, the French, Germania Major and Minor. 5 are fallen, and 1 is. That 1 is was the Roman Empire. At the time that John received this revelation, they were in the Roman Empire, in which, we're pretty much still in today, the revival of that Roman Empire. But they fell for a period of time, right? Scriptures liken it unto, scriptures say 1,000 years. You can read about that in Revelation, the 20th chapter. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. That other one that was not yet to come was Great Britain. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And right, and when you really look into it, Great Britain as a superpower, for lack of better words, compared to the average, they did rule, shorter than average. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, right? Why? Because America, pretty much spawned out of Great Britain. Great Britain was of the 7. So, indirectly, America was also of that 7, just not as America yet. Even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. Why? Because it's prophesied that America is going to be destroyed, man. The greatest, nation, quote unquote, that the earth has ever seen is going to, the Lord is going to destroy them to show his power, to show this world what true power is, man, and what a true God is. And it's funny because, again, this really shows you how it's all, according to the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, because we see how this war is ramping up, how basically, you know, this war is going to lead to World War III. You know, and just not too long ago, Trump was the one saying what, right? And I quote, if we're smart, or there's not going to be a World War III if we're smart, quote unquote. Those were the words of Trump himself. Now look at, you know, where we're at. You know, goes to show you that it's not or how the Lord truly is the one working on the minds of the kings. Let's get the verse. It's Proverbs chapter 20, verse 24, and it reads, man's goings are of the Lord Yahweh. How can a man then understand his own way? Here it is, Trump saying there's not going to be a World War III if we're smart. Now look at what they're doing. Clearly we're not so smart, right? But that's because it's not up to Trump. It's not about what he thinks, what they're doing, but what the Lord wants. And this is why this verse, right, goes along with here. Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. Heart basically going into their spirit, their mind. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the Lord is the one who worked on the minds of, you know, these officials, these men in power, so on and so forth, that led us to this point. It had nothing to do with whether the U.S. government was smart or not, but the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, man. And as we just read in Revelation 17, that will is for what? And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, right? A man's foes shall become then of his own household, as we just read in Matthew's the 10th chapter. For the Most High, O Slakin, thee shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Right? Not to literally eat her flesh, but what? To destroy her, man. Did not we just read that America goes into perdition, into destruction? For the Most High hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. Right? Because the Lord, he has everything planned out. You know, there's a time and a day for everything. And the woman which thou sawest, that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth, right? In which anyone with a functional mind can tell us who this woman is, who this great city is, right? Not a literal city, you know, because a city is basically any place that has citizens. Are we not American citizens, quote unquote, right? This city is speaking about America, man, and her destruction is near, right? The fall of basically the kingdom of Esau Edom is near, you know. So that's all. Lord willing, this video was edifying, uplifting, or informative in some way, shape, or form. And once more, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Ruach HaKodesh, Shalom to the hopeful elect. You know, man, we almost out of here. You know, the prophecies are truly speaking, right? Let's grab one more, actually. Let's get Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Right? What did we just read? Until his words are fulfilled, roughly paraphrasing. But at the end, it shall speak. Not it might speak. You know, it's not going to speak, but it shall speak. The things that the Lord has ordained will come to pass. Right? And those who serve the Lord, you know, mainly dealing with the prophets, the teachers, they're going to be able to identify it, man, based on what we've known from you know, receiving the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding through the Holy Spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. You know, it's certain things where you see and instantly scriptures start flooding your mind. But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. So though it seems like, it's steady, taking forever or whatnot, right? Because we see, this is not the first time tensions have built up, right? And then they die down. So it makes it seem like it's tarrying, but really it's just not the appointed time yet, And again, we know that the MOTB has to come, in full effect before the end comes. Let's actually get one more. Okay, we'll actually close it off here this time, but it's the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 26, and it reads, "This is the purpose that is purposed upon the whole earth, and this is the hand that is stretched out upon all the nations," right? And which that main nation that is stretched out upon, the main nation that the Lord wants to come, judge, is Esau. Verse 27, "For the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Abashai of hosts has purposed, and who shall disannul it? No one, man, not even the Heavenly Father. And his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back?" Right? And the Lord's hands being stretched out is basically what? The Lord bringing judgment. And the Lord has proposed judgment upon America. He has purposed judgment upon America. So you best believe that it will come to pass, man. That prophecy will speak and not lie. So again, once more, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the hopeful elect.